Look at that. I mean, that looks amazing.
I've always had a dream of opening a Pokémon museum, but how could I possibly know how to build something like this on such a massive scale with absolutely zero experience, as well as efficiently covering almost 30 years of a franchise that is the highest grossing media franchise in the entire world? Well, it all started with a Facebook post. I'm part of a retro video game group that's based here in Dallas, Texas, and one day back in September of 2023, I see the co-founder of the National Video Game Museum, John Hardy, posting on there simply asking if anyone has an idea of what should replace an exhibit that's about to close. So I casually put, Pokemon? Well, I didn't hear back. And I didn't hear back for another couple weeks after that. But that being said, I was pretty aggressive as far as even trying to direct message John with this grand idea that I've always had of encapsulating the history of Pokemon throughout the years, more on that later, and making it as a museum and making it such a spectacle that people will want to travel far and wide to come check out and not just see crazy rare items, but learn about the history of a franchise that not only I, but millions and millions around the world love. Well, eventually I heard back from John, and he was infatuated with that idea and wanted me to come in and tour the museum. Granted, I've never been to the National Video Game Museum, so I was actually giddy like a little boy to go check out the National Video Game Museum that I've heard so much about. It even had a little Pikachu statue right when you walk in. So I went to go meet him on just a casual weekday a couple weeks later. Met John, amazing guy, packed with so many incredible stories.
I was at the first E3, I think it was, when Pokemon was being brought over to the States by Nintendo. And as I walked through Nintendo's booth, I got hit in the head with a Pokeball. And I remember at the time saying, this is the stupidest thing ever. This might be big in Japan. It's never gonna fly here. So that just shows you that I was 1000% wrong.
He took me on a tour of the museum, and I felt like I was a kid again back in the 90s. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm a pretty old guy, approaching 40 at this point, and my first video game system that I actually purchased, my parents did, was a Sega Genesis back in 1992. Still remember going to the pool that one day and getting in the car and seeing a brand new Sega in the very back seat. And my goodness, I was so excited. So to go see a museum that is dedicated to its craft, a video game museum that not only had crazy, rare video game systems and items and cartridges throughout the entire history of video games, but to see specific systems and Game Boys and games and even the ability to play those games at the different little exhibits that they have, it was a surreal experience. But what it made it even more surreal was the area that would potentially be the Pokemon exhibit. But in its place was the Mario exhibit. And no, not that zany plumber from the new Nintendo movie, which is great by the way. It was the polarizing Super Mario Bros. Movie from the 90s, which you either love it or hate it. I loved it as a kid. And this exhibit was packed to the brim with real movie props and photos and anything from the movie. This was packed with it. They even had the princess's actual dress in one of the glass cases. It was legit and it looked amazing. And there was a lot of space, but this is where the Pokemon exhibit was supposed to potentially be, if I was able to convince John that this would be a good idea. So I gave John my vision of what I'm thinking I would do here and here and here. I got super excited about the prospect of this, but I told him I love Pokemon, I told him my background, and I told him that I think this could be something special. Well, he pretty much quickly agreed, and that is where the Pokémon Museum officially began. He was to connect me with the designer, who coincidentally was the owner and designer of the Mario exhibit. Enter Blake the designer. Not only the designer of the Mario exhibit, which was so professional and sleek, might I add, but he was the one that owned all of those Mario props. But I spoke with Blake and he had basically let me know that he needs a few of the following things. things. The first thing was high-resolution images that would be placed on the walls. 2, he set the date for the whole thing, a deadline of March 15th, because that's when he was going to be in town to move out all of his Mario exhibit items. But then there was the third and final thing, and that was actually coming up with a story for the exhibit itself. Here I am thinking, oh yeah, let's make a museum and we can put this here and this here and this here. Sure, really nice, cool stuff. But no, it needed an actual theme. It needed an actual story that was cohesive for the entire exhibit. So we came up with celebrating 28 years of the Pokemon franchise by including TCG items, video game items, show items, and of course, random memorabilia throughout the decades. 3 decades, might I add. So eventually, Blake said that he would touch base with me again. Granted, it went a bit longer to hear back. It was, I think, even like a couple months. But finally, I thought the team and I needed to get a little refresher, so we went back in, took measurements of the Mario exhibit, the glass cases, just got an overall feel for it and what we can do. And then that same afternoon, I came up with my official first design and mock-up within an hour. Yeah, it was a bit rough, as you're probably seeing, but Blake loved this design. It would help him out tremendously. But then there was also the fact that it needed the high-res images, and I can't tell you, it was incredibly difficult trying to find the covers of all of the video game arts. You think they're out there? No, most of them are blurry, but I was able to, with a lot of hard work, just Googling, find the best images, and then I used a type of like free upscaler to make the images, but problems I would run into is it would like blur some of the text on the boxes. So then I would have to find another upscaler to see if that one would be better. And thankfully, after hours and hours and hours and days, I was able to get every single cartridge, which you will see more on that later to come. So then I made a different design mock-up for Blake, which he gave me golf claps for. He really enjoyed that. He eventually got me the most gorgeous design I could ever see. It encompassed the history, because I did get somebody to help with writing up some of the history. So you're learning on one side the history of the Pokemon and seeing the different employees like Satoshi, the actual creator of Pokemon, President Ishihara, the rest of the Game Freak team, back in the boardroom from the days, all the way to learning more about the TCG and some of the other video games. Well, I thought this was amazing and this would be great with some minor edits. Well, I was wrong. The Video Game Museum got back to me saying that it needed to be way more video game focused. Surprise. Which was fine. While there was, if you really read it, there was a lot of video game stuff, but it could have got a little bit more boosted as such with more video game items. So we went back and added tons and tons, which ultimately came out very, very well. Then we were getting extremely close to the actual March 15 date, and I reached out because I hadn't heard back from the museum nor Blake as far as like, hey, ready to go, I gotta get the team ready so we can move in the stuff and make sure we're all available. Yeah, John had reached out basically saying those dates are not gonna happen because Blake's not done, and even with Blake being done, we still need to get the actual printing company to print the signs, because there was gonna be a massive Pokemon sign that was gonna be placed at the top, like the coup de grace. There was also gonna be the actual walls itself, which needed to be printed in exact and high quality. So that was completely out of the table, and they moved the date to the end of April. Yeah, so all of that only for it to be moved to the end of April. Which is fine, you don't want to rush these things. So we moved it. So we're towards the end of April and it's getting close to the move-in date. And I get an email asking if we're gonna be ready to move in on April 29th. And we were originally told that we were gonna be able to slowly move in that week, putting stuff here and then coming back in to put some more stuff. But no, it was a resounding, are you ready to move the entire exhibit in because we're gonna be opening up the next day? Yeah. So we had to scramble as far as, are we gonna be ready for this museum? I know there was the delays and delays, but when the time comes, you just had to have been ready. So were we? I hope. It's officially move-in day. After 7 months from the idea to now, it has been quite the journey. Just arrived. We're here. I can't believe the culmination of 7 months of prep and planning since I originally reached out. The Pokemon Museum. Today is the day. I'm so excited, but we gotta go in. I was trying to decide again at the very last minute What are some other cool memorabilia and items that I can include? Because honestly, we had a set list of items that we were gonna put in the museum, but I didn't feel like it was just enough, and I really want this to be special. So I was just going around my studio trying to find different type of Hasbro toys and items that were all still sealed, like the Pokédex, like these cool action figures, original trading card binder sleeves, lots and lots of items, including trainer deck A and B with every single card in the actual trainer decks. Lots and lots of items. So I found all those, went to the museum, super excited, met with the rest of the Rare Candy team. We were gonna move in and do this. Well, of course, there was another delay. The actual signage people that were already in there installing the walls had one of the walls have an error on it. So they had to actually make a whole new wall, wait, and bring that one in. So we waited and waited and waited, which was actually fine because it actually gave us some time to kind of plan out of how we were gonna lay out all of the items. They finally came back, installed the wall, and I gotta say the precision of lining up everything would scare me. I don't know how I would do it, but they were able to do it because that's their job, the professionals. And it actually came out incredibly well. Like, I couldn't even, kudos to Blake. Kudos to myself really quick, because I designed a lot of it, but Blake, he did an incredible job. So it came out, to see it all laid out like that was amazing. But we were running out of time. We had to get this set up that same day. So we cleaned the glass cases. John was a big help, the co-founder of the museum, of cleaning the cases, moving the cases back to the original designs. There was 3 different ones, one on the left, one on the right, and then a big one in the middle.
Slide it like this way a little. Do we have light? 3, 2, 1, showtime. Wait, I didn't even click anything. That was anticlimactic.
But then was the question, how do we actually lay this out?
I think it would be, kind of cool to do like cards in one area, video games, memorabilia, kind of like in that area.
I'm a very visual learner, so actually being there and putting stuff in and then kind of being like, oh, let's move it here, or let's do it, or it looks better this way, that's big for myself.
So honestly, like, let's just start putting it in there and we'll rearrange it.
The first round of items were actual sealed graded video games like Pokemon Red and Blue, EX Fire Red, EX Leaf Green games. I don't want to spoil all of them, but we were putting them in that case.
Okay, so this is cool. I like that. A sealed Pokemon Snap. It's reduced to only $5.
The other case, we were putting the different types of TCG sets in boxes.
So something like this.
Like the base set box, a jungle box, other ones throughout the years. I don't want to spoil too much.
I'm gonna put some of the trading deck cards around it to give it some more personality.
And then of course, in the middle, big shelf, I had lots and lots of memorabilia, including a massive Meowth plushie that didn't actually fit at the bottom, but the team was great in finding a way. So when you go see the museum and exhibit, definitely wave to Meowth because he's stuck in there forever now. No, he's fine.
Got the Pokemon Go Plus, and well, no one can say that we don't have Pokemon Go represented right here. The one item right here.
But there's gonna be so much stuff going on at the actual exhibit, like your chance to play Pokemon Stadium on the Nintendo 64. It's gonna be smack dab right in the middle of the exhibit.
This is much heavier than it looks, by the way. The coup de grace. Look at that. I mean, that looks amazing.
Lots of other incredible rare items that just that first day, we really thought it would fill it out well.
I'd like to, I can come tomorrow to bring more stuff to put in there. Would that be a problem? Just to flesh it out even more. Here at the exhibit on the very next day, brought a ton more items that I just want to keep on putting more and more stuff for y'all to see. I don't want to show off too many things, but I'll show you a few things. Here, adding some more games, as you can see. Gonna add so much incredible stuff to this. I'm really excited how this is turning out so far. And we got the guys over here updating the video game area. Does have way more video games than yesterday on the inside. You can see the Pikachu Nintendo 64 as well too. All right, so I just finished with the middle section. I don't want to show too much, but there are, as I'm showing the entire thing, but there's Pokeballs at the top and then other type of Hasbro toys that are on the inside. So I have a bunch of pack wrappers. Lots and lots of empty pack wrappers from a variety of sets through the years. This is not just a tin, it's filled with even more empty pack wrappers. And I have a pretty grand idea of how I'm gonna use them, but I'm not gonna show y'all in this video. Y'all have to actually, okay, I'll do a sneak peek. Give me a sec. And here's a sneak peek. Different pack wrappers going across the bottom. Here's what the card area is looking like so far, adding a bunch of different decks in the back with sets trying to be in order. I do have other boxes here, like this Chinese box, really trying to showcase a variety throughout the years for the Pokemon TCG. So the TCG area is getting built out, and again, y'all are gonna love it. That TV is actually gonna be playing tons and tons of old Pokemon commercials. So right now it's playing the old exhibit stuff, original boxes from the Pokemon Center from Japan, and then the updated card area, deck boxes from Pokemon Center, boxes in the back, boxes on the top. Got some cool jumbo cards in the back, including the Shadow Lugia Gale of Darkness card, the jumbo card for the game right there. Got the card. We do have some sealed packs that are on the inside, including the trainer deck cards. And then one of my favorite items is this, the original Pocket Monsters playmat from Japan. And then we got a Bear Walker board. That's my personal board. It's actually, technically all of this is.
Don't want to give too much away because that's going to be up to y'all to go. And I'll leave a link in the description below if you want to get more info on arranging a visit yourself. You can go visit! Yes, you can go visit the Pokémon Museum exhibit that we put together. In this video is not even showing the amount of items that have been placed in these because they will be always changing. There will be always cool items that will be filling it to the brim with the rich history of Pokemon.
Pokemon is something we haven't really represented previously at the museum, and it's such a huge franchise that it was long overdue, right? So now, teaming up with Lee and everything, it's gonna be a huge exhibit. I think it's gonna be really popular.
But there's a mission for y'all out there, that if you go to the National Video Game Museum in Frisco, tag myself and tag Rare Candy as well, because we all did this together to hopefully provide y'all an amazing experience. So I'd like to thank Blake, the designer. I'd like to thank Rare Candy. But most importantly, I'd like to thank the National Video Game Museum for allowing a dream to come true.